Sorry.
Hey guys, as you can see, I'm joined by two of the greatest strongman coaches there is. You guys are coaching everyone right now with some big competitions coming up. We've got Dan Hipkiss and Dale McPhearson, Mr. 3D Strength. How are we doing, guys?
Amazing, man. Really good. Happy to be chatting on the internet again.
It's good to have you both back on. It seems like we were spending a lot of time together towards the end of last year, and then there's been a little bit of a break. I've missed you guys.
Yeah,
I've got withdrawal symptoms.
I think we've got lots to look forward to. And obviously the two big competitions coming up right now, you are both heavily involved with some of your athletes. Obviously, Dan, both Stoltmans competing at Britain's and in the Arnold's.
Yep.
And Dale, how many guys you got competing at Britain's?
Four
guys.
Gav, Andy, and Pa.
How is it coaching that many athletes for the same competition?
Well, because everyone's got their own strengths and weaknesses, it's kind of not hard, but you've got to think outside the box. So Gav's plans are completely different to Andy's, even though in stature they're pretty similar. But they've both got so many different strengths and weaknesses. And then where you get Des and Pa, they're a little bit more athletic, so their kind of training's a lot less. How did you say? I can do a lot more volume with them two than what I can with Gav and Andy. I have to sort of mix things up and change things around, but that's the job as a coach, isn't it? Everyone's individual, everyone's different, so you just got to roll with it and just take it on the chin and see how it goes. You know, it's Absolutely. Good though. It's fun.
I bet it is, and I think it's one of the great things about being a coach is understanding what works best for individual athletes, because everyone responds differently. You know, we all think, oh, you just do. Say you do Eddie Hall's deadlift program, you're going to be the world record on it. It just doesn't work like that.
No,
a lot of people just wouldn't be able to handle the amount of volume that someone like Eddie could.
Yeah, it's like me. I can deadlift heavy 3 times a week, no problem, but I can only squat once and that's it. Done. Yeah. You know, like I say, everyone's so different, and it's like that with the lads as well. Like I think it's time served with a lot of them. I know Gav and Andy pretty well now. I know Des quite well, but Pa, I'm still getting to know him. Because me and Pa had a very good friendship to start with, it was very like, right, how do I break Pa down so he stops treating me as his mate all the time? And that was the initial first 4 weeks. We had to kind of know when to cross the line and know when to go right. Come on, we'll keep it right now. This past 2 weeks, we've had a massive breakthrough to finally where he's like, have you ever tried to have a serious conversation with Pa?
It's not the easiest thing to do.
It's harder than having a serious conversation with me, right? And it's really difficult. So I know when we're talking seriously now, so we've made some really good progress. So all four now are at this point where it's like you've got your friendship line and you've got your coaches line. I think you need to know that. You two guys know that just as well as anyone.
It's interesting with Pa because he has this persona online, and when he's at competitions that he's just having fun. But when you know him, you know how important it is to him, and he wants to do well and win these kind of big shows. You know, he's not just
cares a lot, and like it might not come across that way. You might just look at him like he's the joker in the room, but he's not. He really does care, and he cares a lot about his performance as well. And like I've spoke to you two guys about it before. I think Pa was very guilty of coming into competitions burnt out and leaving it in the gym a lot. So when we first started, my main thing with him was you do not go into competitions tired. I have to keep you pulled back very often because I think Pa's very, very well known for doing things off the cuff. Like the other day, he picked up a 140 fucking bar.
He's a hard person to train because he does go off and do what he wants to do a lot of the time.
I was speaking to Dan about this the other day. We've got this relationship where it's kind of right. How do I make Pa's training fun but structured? And not let him be a douchebag at the same time. And we're starting to get this balance. Every now and then he'll do something stupid and message me, and I'm like, I just send him a picture of my face and just shake my head. And then, but you just got to understand this is what he's like as a person. Can you imagine what he does at home, not on camera?
It is interesting. Yeah, I actually have a female client a bit like that I almost have to let her have a free session once a month where she can just go and do what she wants.
Yeah, for sure.
Because she needs to have that blowout, and then she's all right. She can get back to the structured program. But it's weird how everyone's so different.
Yeah, I love it though. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I think that, like you said, that's the skill of a coach as well. Is you see a lot of people who just like put the same plan out, And then if it doesn't work for an athlete, it's the athlete's fault.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, my plan works. What's wrong with you? But, you know, you realize that, like coaching Dale, for example, you've got to, there's things that I need him to hit and things I know he's going to mess around on. And you've got to, like, this week, if
King
this
of
week,
the accessories.
yeah, like this week, I'm just like, can you make sure you get these things done and then have a bit of fun? But so, like, Dale's such a good coach. He obviously, like, he could look at a plan and go, well, this exercise is about training grip. Here's 40 different ways I could train my grip, and he'll do all of them at once.
Fun. It's fun. Because what's happened, Loz, is recently we've had a little bit of an issue last week. Des was down training. I've messaged Dan. I didn't want to. I've cracked my rib doing an axle clean. So up the top of my sternum where I bump it up, I thought, do you know when you get pressure in your sternum or your back where you need to pop it? So I was going around the gym for nearly 2 hours, Googling loads of these different exercises to relieve pressure on your sternum. I went to the chiropractor on Monday. I've actually cracked my rib just on the left-hand side of my sternum. And honestly, the pain on Friday, I thought I was having a heart attack. And I was like, oh, how do we go around this? So we're working around that one now. So me not being able to do certain things really annoys me, but I know I need to behave. So Dan's on my case every day. Every day.
I think you need a Dan in your corner, just kind of holding you back a little bit yourself.
Do you know what I think is? Do you know? Have you ever heard people when they get a little bit pig-headed and they're like, well, you're a coach. Why do you need a coach? I tell you why you need a coach when you compete at a certain level, because someone holds accountability for you. You hold accountability for them. And also, if we just program ourselves, we can hit numbers we want to hit. We might not push ourselves enough. We might push ourselves too much. We might do things we enjoy doing more than what we do others. But when you've got someone saying, do that, unlucky, you just literally stand there and go, right, okay, that's a challenge. I remember the first time Dan told me to clean and press a 160 log for free. And I just thought, wow, how the hell can I do that? And then once you get to the second rep and all the rooms start spinning round and you start going, you get the third one, you go, I don't know where that come from, but if he didn't tell me to do that, I probably wouldn't have done it. It's as simple as that.
And now you've strict pressed like a 182 log. So it's,
yes.
Yeah, it's not very bad.
It is funny how you can be a great coach, but still when it comes to your own training, and I think we're all guilty of this sometimes, we can become morons.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
100%. It's so interesting, and you know, it is. I think it is important to have that extra, particularly if you're looking to compete at a very high level, because you do need someone saying, right, we'll push a bit harder today, or go the other way and hold you back sometimes, and that's just as important.
We had like say I get Donna down, and like Donna's got like me in a corner, she's got Jenny in a corner as head coach, she's got Jack Lovett in a corner as well, and she comes and picks up loads of different bits off all of us, and like she's literally like, she probably has more upstairs than what people have forgotten, you know, but she still needs that kind of reinforcement and like that kind of different commands and different signals, because she likes to like get bits off people around who know what they're doing, and that's someone who's like literally one of the greatest strength athletes ever lived, you know, and like even she needs help, because sometimes as the outside looking in, you can see more than what you can yourself. And
absolutely,
you know, it's like, have you ever watched a video of yourself and go, wow, that was great, that, and you've sent it to someone who you respect and they go, shit, and you're like, wow, appreciate it, mate. But that's what you need. You need to kick up the ass, otherwise you won't get any better.
You need people being honest around you, and you need to always understand that you can learn more and you can get better.
You can never know enough.
Two fundamental things that I think without that, you're never going to be that good. Because if you think you know everything, if you think you're kind of the best, that's the second everyone starts overtaking you.
The only thing I do know is if you drink nourishment, you get stronger.
100%.
That is fact.
Do you agree with me on that one?
Oh, yeah.
Right. We could talk about coaching for hours, but obviously we've got two big competitions coming up, starting with Britain's Strongest Man, end of February. Between you guys, 6 athletes, you know, half the field you guys are coaching. So let's talk about that. How are the guys looking? Who's your favorites? What are we thinking about the events for Britain's Strongest Man?
Dan, you go first, because you've got the boys.
The defending champion.
Yeah, my favorite. I mean, we were chatting last night about sitting on the fence, and with this competition, I can't even see the fence anymore. Like, I'll be surprised if Tom or Luke don't win every event. I think, it's Tom's, like with the Arnold coming up, the Arnold events aren't great for Tom. They're really good for Luke. The Brits events, if I'd have designed a Britain's Strongest Man for Tom to win, it would have been this one. It's the events are amazing. He's getting close to that World's Strongest Man hunger again. Like, we're 120 odd days away from Worlds, and they're both getting that laser focus. Like, they want to win everything. So it's, yeah. I mean, my number one pick is Tom.
Who's your 2 and 3 then? Since you've been all like sassy.
2 and 3 get in. I think Luke's going to be up in the mix. We've done the big thing is like last year. Like everyone knows, Luke's deadlift's been a bit of an issue, but we're hitting big PBs on deadlift like every week now. So I think he'll be probably 2 or 3 reps better on deadlift than he was last year, which is going to put him, that's him on the podium. But like Bish is so explosive with the bag toss, he could be really good. So I'd say like Tom, Luke, and Bish on the podium. But Luke and Bish are pretty interchangeable in this comp. Like the shield carry, Luke's really good at, did really well at Europe's. Last time Bish did shield, it wasn't the best result.
Bish is a funny one on shield because you look at him and you think he should be good.
Yeah, I think he just forgets to breathe.
He's had a number of kind of mishaps on the shield before.
Yeah, the one in Doncaster.
Somehow it's been a mental barrier. Something's gone wrong in the past once or twice. When it comes to that event again, you sort of go, "Oh, Christ."
I've trained shield with him, and he's really good.
Yeah,
he can go a good distance, but he's had those few kind of, there's a time at Britain's Strongest Man where he went flying, and that was really nasty. Europe's, he didn't do that well on it. He was struggling with like how he was feeling that day. So it almost starts kind of niggling it in the back of your head. You sort of hit this little voice in the back of your head saying, what's going to happen this time? Rather than having that confidence, say he does with a deadlift, where he knows he's going to go and smash it. You don't quite have that same, confidence in yourself. And I'd like to see Bish put in a good performance because I think he's more than capable.
Yeah.
It's not a guarantee. Whereas some events you just look at and he's going to go and smash.
What I'm excited about this time round is, compared to Britain's at the back end of last year, all the lads have had an off season and they're fresh coming back in. Whereas last year's Britain's, I give you an example, we'll use Andy for an example. He was gone by that point. That was like a shadow of Andy Black who turned up at Manchester earlier on in the year. Yeah. For the simple fact he was just absolutely exhausted physically and mentally. So we're going to get guys like Andy coming in and Shane, now that he's had his first dip of his toe in the water at Giants. Gav's coming back. He's looking better than ever. Par's coming back. He's going to come in a lot fresher. We've got all these guys coming in. And then you've got Mark Friedrich.
The fact that it's the first comp of the year as opposed to the last comp, it was for a lot of the last year. It's a very different kind of layout.
I've got Tom down for 3 wins on the events, personally, from just down a little skeg. But I've got... I'm undecided on the bag toss, because I think Andy's a machine at bag toss, like an absolute machine, and it's going to come down to 0. seconds.
Oh yeah, my thing with that is he beat Thor over in Iceland at it when Thor was at his prime. So but that's my logic for Tom is
it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah, 100%.
Looking at things, and I think the shield could be the deciding factor of those segments.
Let's go through the events. If you guys, because you guys obviously been training the guys, go through the events one at a time, just so people know what they've got to expect.
Can I name the events, Dan? Then
you can. You go.
Let's see how this goes.
Right, we'll start with the bag toss.
Yep.
18 to 28 kilos.
Yes, we between 4 and 5 meter bar, I think.
I think we've all went off the assumption it's the same as OSG. What was that, 4.2 or 3?
Yeah.
Something, 4.5. Let's say 4.5, give or take.
Yeah.
We'll say that,
Yeah, I'd say Tom and Andy, like you said. Andy's, I mean, he's closer to the bar than half the field as well. So it's cheating for him and Tom.
They're both so much taller than the rest of the field. I mean, Gav is very tall as
yeah,
well.
so is Tom.
Yeah. But yeah, between those two, I think it's, you know, they're built to throw. And like Gav's got the height, he's really powerful, but I think he's still got a bit too much belly going on at the moment. And I think that will just affect the leverage a bit.
See if it comes back on now.
Are we losing you, Dale?
Has it come back on?
I think you're back with us.
Yeah, I think you're back, man.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Sorry.
But yeah, that's
Internet connection. That's what it was. So we're going for Tom and Andy on the bag toss. Sorry about that, lads.
Who do you guys see as like a potential third place on the bag toss?
Bish, I think. If Bish is good, like he's got a strong old ass, and
I've got Luke third on that.
Luke's in training, he's either been amazing at bag toss or just like you, Dale, like it's in his head still a little bit.
Yeah.
And if we get that one good bag toss session, he could be top 2 or 3. But it's just waiting for that
Andy
click.
About this yesterday, and I think the importance of bag tosses is getting off to a good start and trying not to put too much into the first 3 or 4 bags, the lighter bags. Like enough, you can kind of like mong them ones over a little bit, but once you start getting a little bit heavier, you need to start really focusing on your technique, going in high, coming out low, and really extending through the hips at the top, you know. And like you said, Dan, don't release too late either, you know.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it's like a bag toss, you can be absolutely flying, or a keg toss or whatever, and you can just smack the barrier, you turn around and you're like, wow, we lost 5 seconds, that's it, game's over.
Yeah,
so
it can be massive.
Just got to execute it perfectly, but at the same time, you've got to have the balls to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, Big Z's keg toss in, I want to say 2008 or 2005, where he had 2 or 3 kegs in the air. Like that's a perfect run for me. I think
Big Z had his kegs up in the air.
He had 3 in the air at once, I think, and it was an indoor arena in Scandinavia somewhere. I can't remember what it was, but he just launched them. And that's like with Tom, that's what we've been working on is...
You look at the guys that are good on the keg toss, they have a real confidence with it.
Yeah.
There's
like Brian Shaw and people like them.
Brian Shaw, Hathor,
like it's nothing.
Madrunas in his prime. Those guys, they were well trained on it, but they just had that confidence. And it's not an event you can... I mean, it is one of the events that can go wrong. It really can. You know, you can be a great keg toss, bag tosser, and like you say, one bag, you might get the height, but it doesn't get the trajectory, doesn't go over, it throws you off, and then you start to panic, and it's an explosive event. So you lose that energy very, very quickly.
Yeah.
If you can hit it perfectly, you can do it almost easily. But you get one throw wrong, it starts to drain you, and then you start to panic. And I think that's where someone like Tom just has the confidence, and as does Andy.
Yeah,
they
that's
are
going to be
just naturally good throwers, and that is a big confidence issue, and it helps hugely.
I really hope they have like head to head. I hope it's 2 people running the bag toss at once.
2 giants going absolutely, like 2 bulls just going like that.
And that's if we did that head to head, that's when you can see the pressure. That's when suddenly, you know, a little flick over with the eyes just to see what someone's doing. It can make you.
Andy though, Andy doesn't really get the moment. Let the moment get to him. I don't know if you've noticed about that from meeting him. The moment doesn't really get to him. You'll never see him in the changing rooms like sweating or too much music in and stomping around and wasting loads of nervous energy. He's very, very kind of calm and relaxed. I've not noticed he's very much like that.
Yeah.
He's a very naturally calm guy, but he's starting to get more pressure on himself now. He's not the new guy anymore. So you start naturally. When you're the new guy, like last year was great. It was his first year at Giants Live, first year at Britain's.
World's strongest novice.
Yeah, he was just having fun, learning. It didn't matter. This year, there's a lot of eyes on him, expecting big things. And that brings a different mental approach. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure he'll cope absolutely fine. But it's just throwing it out there. He's in a slightly different position this year in that he's expected to do well. He's putting that pressure on himself that he wants to get to world's strongest man. He wants to prove he's, the best at certain events. And it does bring a little bit of a different type of pressure. And then you start to really see if someone's going to be a champion.
If they've got
It's what me and Dale said yesterday, that he almost got too good too quick. So he's not had 5 years of like building up from novice and doing, local open shows and all of this to just go like to know himself. So like competing this year where like say he's got a bit more pressure on him, it's going to be like look at Tom in 2018 at Brits where he just walked off. Like he had so much pressure that in essence none of it was real. And once he realized
the problem with Tom is he was destined to be the world's strongest man. And when you've got people around you saying it to you, but Tom's not the type of person to take that into his head and think, I am the greatest. He'll probably just took that in and thought, ooh, okay, right, I know I'm good, but like, can you leave me alone, please? Like,
and
that's what it's more like. Whereas
that show made Tom, because
some people's heads get like this and they're just getting all better.
What I'm saying, that show made Tom because he did badly, but he came back and learned from it.
For sure.
And that's a big thing. People, we often kind of look at things and results, say, oh, someone did really bad in that comp. It doesn't mean anything as long as they learn from it and come back better.
100%.
But Loz, how many bad competitions have you had?
Hundreds.
Like how many bad performances have people had? How many bad training sessions have you had? And if you add up all the bad training sessions in your life or competitions in life, but you compare them to the good ones, it means nothing really, does it?
If you get to the end of your career and you've won, all these big major titles, you don't worry about the bad performances. You look back. I know from my career, I learn a lot more when I lose than when I win.
Yeah, that's
very important.
That's the key of a professional athlete is winning's easy. Like if you win, like even after Worlds, and what made me like so sure that this year for like Tom and Luke's going to be good after Worlds and Europe's, we had a phone call a week or so after. They've obviously each won their competition, and what could we have done better? Like what went wrong? How could you have not had to do this before? Like Tom had to beat Brian in stones, but what could we have done so he could have just done a decent stone run?
Put the log indoors.
Yeah, he lost. He was 5 kilos light that morning. He'd spent all morning throwing up.
Oh, lovely.
So it was one of those, and then but we need to know that what did he eat that day? Like what did he eat the night before? What made him feel sick? Like what caused this? Like Luke at Europe's, again, it came down to the stones, which as a fan is amazing. But as a coach,
a little bit more stressful.
I want to go, so long as you load 5 stones, we're good. Like, not you have to beat so-and-so, you have to be here. So what can we do to get rid of that bit of stress?
Yeah, for sure. So after the bag toss, I can't remember which order it's in, so we'll just go which order which I've written it down. We'll go deadlift. Me personally, I've got Tom and Bish in the top 2 on that. I think Tom's
deadlift,
Axel deadlift. It's 350, isn't it?
350, I think,
350 for reps, globe Axel deadlift. I've got Tom 10, maybe more, judging the way he performed last time at the end of the season. And I've got Bishop 8 or 9. It just depends if Bishop takes that little break, because sometimes Bishop's the type of guy to just go bang all out.
So they both did 9 last year?
I think 9, Tom got by a rep, didn't he? Or did he get the same?
I think they got the same. I think Hipkiss,
Bish, they're both good for 10. They're both good for 10. And then it's a little bit of a mix-up after that, because I think the best deadlifters for reps after that, we could have Shane, Pa, and if Felix is healthy, he could be upsetting the pack a little bit there.
Yeah.
And then I think the kind of tier below that, but you've just told us something different about Luke. So this is just off from what we've seen last when we were last competing last season. Then I think you're going to have the likes of Andy, Gav, and then Luke, and then we're going to be having and Shane, and then we're going to be having like Des and Paul, maybe knocking down at the bottom end of that. But that's just my kind of guess the way it's going to go. I reckon
think that's a good shout.
Yeah, I reckon 10 for the win, 9 or 10 for the win, and I reckon the likes of Shane and Pa's capable of 8 if he wants it.
Yeah.
If he sits into it more. Par's very guilty of just ragging away.
How many did Par get last time?
Par.
6, didn't he, last time?
Yeah, I think six. I think it was 6 or 7, one of the two. But yeah, he's good for that. Gav's ditched the straps and went for a figure of 8. Thank God, it only took a year.
Yeah.
That. And I know that Andy were aiming for a solid 5 or 6 because his best is 4 on that event. So Andy Baldwin worked very hard on that. We weren't his conditioning, plenty of enoms, plenty of AMRAPs and things. So I think it could be quite interesting. From what me and Dan know, that Paul's been trained in a suit, thank God, because after the Britons, me and him both had a word with him, and we just turned around. Because you know the thing is, Paul is very good pretty much at a lot of things, but he doesn't seem to have got any better over the past 5 or 6 years. And it seems that it's his own stubbornness that holds him back sometimes, not his ability.
Yeah.
So things like, if you can do a log with a pair of sleeves, why don't you wear them?
Yeah.
Because I want to do it raw. I want to do the deadlift raw, and then
I get very frustrated with that mentality because the way I kind of see it is: do you want to win, or do you just want to look impressive?
Prove a point? Just prove go.
But you're not proving a point to anyone but yourself.
No, but it's.
I done 4 reps without a suit. You done 5 with a suit. Yeah, but I still beat you.
I think part of it as well is, pulling raw, and it may not be the case for Paul. I don't want to speak for him, but his deadlift sort of stalled over a few years, and I'm not pulling in a suit is easier than something's going wrong with my deadlift. But then, put a suit on, deadlift 5 times a week and pull the same as you did raw. There's still an issue there that I hope he's addressing, because, like you say, Paul's really good at a lot of stuff, and if he just brings it, he only needs to bring everything up a little bit, and it'll be really dangerous.
Listen, Paul is more than worth his weight in gold at Britain's strongest man. He deserves to be there. He is one of the strongest men in Britain. We can't not take that away from himself at all, because I really like Paul as well. I know I talk a lot of crap about him, and
it's easy though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I really like him, And when me and Dan speak about Paul, we just want him to get better for himself, to do better, because we want to see him do well.
He's a great athlete.
I'd love to see him at Worlds again.
Why not? There's no reason why not. He's still
young. When we were out there, the competition had started before we knew he was in it. We had to train for every event because he was reserved, so he didn't have a group. And that wasn't representative of what he was capable of. But I think that seemed to be that turning point of just, I don't know, something switched a little bit. And if it switches back, he could be a really dangerous athlete again. He's an amazing mover as well.
I don't think we're going to see Paul challenge for the top 3 spots at Britain's. I mean, he may prove me wrong. I think what we'll see from Paul this year, I think he really wants to challenge for UK's strongest man.
Yeah.
That's a great shout.
I think he's going to kind of look to peak to try and win that. I'm sure he wants to try and be top 5 at Britain's.
Yeah.
It is very, very difficult. And I think the fact that his deadlift could potentially be the lowest out of the lot of them.
That's it. If you then outside the top 5.
In a comp with 5 events, if you have one weakness like that, you have to make sure the other 4 events you are unbelievable at.
Yeah, sure.
And unfortunately, I don't think I can't see Paul beating the likes of a Tom Stoltman on these type of events.
No. He's consistent, but not at the top.
Sorry. Yeah.
Paul, when he came 5th at Brits or when he won England's and stuff like that, I don't think he won an event when he won his first England's.
Yeah.
But he was 2nd or 3rd in every event. And the problem is now, at Britain's strongest man, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in most events are the same 3 guys. Yeah. And they're
you really need to have some strengths that can beat anyone to kind of do something against the best guys in the world. And that's what Britain's strongest man is now. It's not, a low-level comp. It is some of the best guys on the planet.
No, you've either got half of them guys there. You've basically got 5 or 6 guys from Britain who can be in the world's strongest man final.
Yeah.
And more capable. Do you know you were talking there about the consistency, about the 2nds and 3rds, about at the Englands? I always look back at Mariusz Pudzianowski, the way he used to compete. When would you ever see a competition, really, in the events where he was outside the top 3? It wasn't very often, was it?
Unless something went wrong.
This is where I'm going to get up to about Mateusz Kaliskowski when we talk about the Arnolds, because That's going to be a little bit later on. But yeah, so after the deadlift, guys, we'll go 150 fixed axle clean and press. And if any of you guys watching this have used an axle, but you've never used a fixed Apollon's axle, it's nowhere near the same. You might think it looks the same. It's really not. The clean, if you can't nail it, is horrendous. The bar doesn't roll. It's just like manhandling a little baby pig onto your shoulders and trying to press it. It's ruthless. Dan, take it away, my friend.
I'm going to pick the same two guys as I'm going to pick for everything.
I wonder which two guys.
Oh, this is Dan. I don't sit on the fence, Hipkiss. I just say what I want.
I think, we're not putting a lot of stuff out at the moment from the lads' events training, but to know what they hit last week, they're going to be hard to beat. And they're hitting their...
And what did they hit?
Luke got 3 sets of 5 with 140 clean and press. Tom got 1 set of 7. And Tom's working with a 60-second time cap at the moment as well. So he missed his 8th rep because it was outside 60 seconds, but hitting 7 in 60, clean and press every rep. So
I actually, I think Paul Smith was the one who put up a question the other day. How many reps will win the axle? I've picked 7 reps to win.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout.
60 seconds on an axle, having to clean every rep, it would be hard to do more than 7, I think. 8 maybe, but that would be perfect. You'd have to hit every single rep, absolutely.
Yeah, no weird bounces or anything like that. The other thing, we don't know if it's 60.
Didn't I, Dan? I sent him some of the lads training the other day. The lads I coached went, "Oh, that's really good, that." And then he told me what Tom and Luke were, and I was like, "You know what? I'm not messaging you anymore for the next day." But no, because it's not a log. It's not the same.
Yeah.
The clicking on a log is 20 times more beautiful than what it is on an axle. And and like you said, once you start getting tired and past like the 5 rep mark, you can start getting a little bit sloppy. I don't know about you guys. I've always found when I use a fixed axle, I find the transition up to the shoulders, finding your hand position when you get tired, a little bit more difficult. Sometimes your hands can be a little bit off center than normal, and then things start going wrong.
And we're not Glen Ross anymore, where you're pressing with one hand on the smooth bit of the bar and one hand on the wheel. And just,
that was really impressive. In all fairness,
it's one of those things where people go, "Oh, but what's the exact diameter of the axle?" Like all these questions, and you're like, "Here's a video of Glen Ross at the Arnold. Do you think it matters?"
Because... No, absolutely not. But yeah, it does. I'm
a fan of the axle. I'm glad to see it in.
Me too.
It's always, we haven't seen an axle at Britain's Strongest Man for a long, long time.
Big fan.
No.
Big fan.
Axle for reps, very, very challenging when it comes to the clean. We're going to see. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but if I was coaching guys for this, I wouldn't make them power clean. I would make sure you are continentaling every single rep from your first rep of your warm-ups.
Yep.
Unless you're part and you want to show off and try and power clean 120 and then laugh about it. And then I've just got to go up.
The problem when people power clean is they may get 1 or 2 reps and then suddenly their energy is just drained. And then to try and go from the power clean to the continental actually messes with your head. And you're not into that movement pattern. And I've seen people mess up so many times taking that approach of, I'm just going to muscle up 2 or 3 reps. And then suddenly they don't get any more than that. Whereas the guy that takes his time a little bit more, focuses on making sure every single rep is the same, often has the energy to keep going and perform for the 60 seconds.
Who did it happen to at Worlds this year where they done it? Was it the Janasha when he power cleaned the barbell and then really struggled with the axle?
And I
power clean is such an explosive movement. It takes so much energy to do. It looks beautiful when it's done, but to do it for reps is a very, very demanding task. And, on an axle as well, where you don't get that rotation of the bar, it's asking
You're asking for a snap wrist.
Yeah. I want to see... I'll give anyone at Brits the win if they full squat clean it like Mark Henry did, though.
That would be interesting.
I think you should get an extra rep for every one of those.
His hands are basically just seeing dumbbells. Just as
it's just a normal bar for him.
Those are just his hands. Like an axle to him's just like a little tiny kind of cork. He's just like, that'll do it. He's just a freak in
it. Dan's picking his boys. Who's gonna challenge them?
you know what? I can't even bother to talk to him about this because I've already wrote my numbers down. And his head's too big as it is anyways. Bloody hell. So I'll be honest with you, on the axle, I've got Tom taking the win on the axle. I've got him taking the win because I think Tom's better on a bar and an axle than what he is a log. Sorry, more confident. More confident. Is that the right word to say? Yeah. And then I think there's going to be... God's sake, I'm going to have to say it. And then Luke second. I have to say it, Anna. And then I'll be honest with you, I think Parr can nip Bishop on the axle 110%. So I've got Parr down as a third on that. And
I think that's a good shout, man.
Judging how Gav's feeling, if he gets off to a good start and he's feeling good, Gav's capable of 5 or 6.
Yeah.
He really is. So I reckon that third's going to be Parr, Bish, or Gav. But Shane Flowers looks very good as well.
Yeah.
So
conditioning's going to be the big thing for it.
Yes,
I think for the top guys.
The first 3, I think, is pretty. I think most of us can hit a comfortable treble on most weights, but once you start getting to the 4, 5, 6, that's when it really starts wearing down on you. So we'll have to see. I'm going Parr a third on that.
I think that's a good shout.
What about Paul? Do you think Paul can perform well on it?
3 or 4 reps, maybe.
3 or 4. I'll agree with him on that. I'll totally agree with him on that. 110%. With Andy, it's still a bit of an Achilles heel because, like me and you spoke about before, Loz, many times, he's still finding that general shoulder just being, like, for example, passing someone a pair of 50-kilo dumbbells and asking them to rep out on the shoulders, things like that. Andy's still a tiny bit behind strength-wise. So technically,
let's remember, Andy's in his 3rd year.
Yeah, it just takes time. It just takes time with that. So we're hoping if we can get some points in it, that's going to be the key. That's going to be the most important thing with that, I do think. So
this for me is a big event for Bish. If Bish doesn't get some decent points, it's going to cost him challenging for the title.
Yeah,
this is why I think Parr's the bogeyman in this competition.
Parr could cause a lot of issues for people. We're also not 100% sure if it's 60 seconds still.
Obviously, I think 75's better on an axle, but that's just my opinion.
I mean, it's Brit, so we'll find out the night before, and then it'll change 3 times, and then you'll go out, and however long the first guy has is how long everyone else has. But it's it could be, if it's longer, then conditioning is going to be massive, because if you're closing in towards double figures, 150 for 10 is heavy anyway. Like, however you're doing it.
150 for 10 out of the rack trying to press it's heavy.
Yeah. So it's a fixed axle. It'll be, I guess, either the first event or 3rd event, maybe. Like, I'm not sure how they're going to play it this year again, but it's
I'd rather have the axle before the deadlift. If the axle's after the deadlift, you might see a little bit of pumpy back syndrome.
Oh, no one's cleaning it if it's straight after the deadlift. Just
can you imagine? Fucking hell, what's this here? Feels light in the hands, but torture on the belly.
You'd be better off trying to do a Turkish get-up with it than actually bend over.
We'll just change it to like a floor press instead. We'll just do some bench.
Just max bench.
That would change things.
Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Do you remember years ago when they were doing a team event and they had these tyres and 2 men underneath and they were bouncing it, just pressing it?
Yeah. I like the hammer strength comp. The hammer strength comp was ace.
Is that when they had them on the machines?
Yeah, like just stacking plates. Sven Carlson, like just plates after plates after plates. More plates.
So, lads, next we've got the kind of the event which we don't really know what's going to happen. The Shield, like what I can't guess what's going to happen. I've got a few answers here, but for me, the Shield is one of them things. How tired are you going into the Shield?
Yep.
Where you're at? Have you been able to train on the Shield? Because we've had to mix a few things around because it's quite difficult. If you don't have an implement which obstructs your hips and gets in the way, because even if you've got a yoke in a Zercher carry position or an axle or even a sandbag, it's not the same as the giant Shield.
Have you guys ever touched that Shield?
No, but I'm going up next week and I'm going to be sick.
Right. I've used it. And I cannot see anyone touching Tom Stoltman on this event.
Is that because of the height?
His height, I think his wingspan and how hard the shield is. He's very similar in terms of build to Thor, and Thor was so far ahead of everyone else on this because he could get his hands around the implement. I think if Tom gets his hands around this implement, no one gets close to him.
This year, he's willing to suffer as well, more than he was. Obviously, there wasn't this kind of event at Worlds where it's just you've got to dig in and just be sad. And
people don't understand. It's not a Husabelt stone or a sandbag where you can kind of lock or grab hold. It's completely opposite. You literally in no man's land.
I'm 6'2". I can't even get my hands close to touching.
No, I think Tom can. In training, we've been consciously not doing that, so he can get used to, when it starts to go. And we've been doing, 50, 60-meter runs in training, so it's going to be good. Luke's hitting the same as Tom at the moment as well.
So bicep.
Luke, his performance on the Europes was very solid. I
think second to Lalas. And
Lalas was amazing.
Lalas was unbelievable. He was so quick as well, though. Like he covered a couple of lengths before he realised he was tired.
Do you know with this event, guys, do you find moving your feet faster and trying to keep your upper body as still as possible is better than when people shake too much? Because I find sometimes lads, when they're moving their bodies a little bit too much with their arms,
it's draining energy.
It's very draining, and you start to kind of wear you down. But I find
upright's the way to go. And then what we've always said is be upright and move perfectly for as long as you can. And then when you're knackered,
just push.
Lean back a bit, put it in your hamstring, tire something else out.
Yeah, basically just bite your lips and just hope for the next few inches count.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, it's an event, as an athlete, I hated, but I had guts, so I could push myself to go a little bit further than someone else just by mentally kind of pushing it. But,
it separates a lot of people, these kind of events where you see the guys who are willing to kind of strain a bicep, strain a hamstring.
I think having a little bit of, if the guys have a chance to train on the equipment, it makes a big difference. Just getting used to how to hold it, because it's such a big shield. It's not like, it's a big difference when you can get around the full shield. You could go with a heavier shield that you can get your hands around and go a further distance than this one.
Yeah.
Don't talk to Dan about training on the right equipment because he gets really upset about it.
If it were me, I'd lock all the competition kit in a warehouse and it'd come out for competitions.
I actually think that's a great idea, because then you're not giving anyone else an advantage.
Yeah, you don't live next door to Darren and train in his gym and use all that kit every week.
Oh, damn you, little.
Or
move
over here for 3 months and use the kit every day. Because it's not.
Start calling you Karen.
It's just. It tests
Karen Hipkiss.
Karen Hipkiss over there.
It tests people who are able to travel rather
If you
than.
Want to speak to the manager, his name's Darren Sadler. Just give him a phone call and let him see what he says to you about that.
I did say it to him and he just laughed. So.
I'm going to speak to your manager.
It's just for me, strongman should be. There shouldn't be any advantage through knowing people or going places. It should just be,
Well, I think it's almost impossible to do much about that right now. There's always going to be people that, and Darren, to be fair to him, lets anyone come up and train on the kit. It's not like he's not letting people come. It's just if people have the advantage to be there, then it is going to be an advantage. I don't care.
Dan's only pissed off because the lads are 7 hours away. Yeah, that's the only reason he's annoyed.
But it's just it was annoying, coaching Paul when you'd see videos before Brits of everyone in the gym using the kit, and we're emptying a student's piss out of our tire that was stored outside the uni. You're like, well, it's less of a level playing field, which is just a bit frustrating. But
I'm on the other side of the fence with this one because I like the whole meeting up with everyone, having a laugh, having a train. And then just saying, see you in a few weeks, and then you walk off and go, hey, we're going to smash him at that. He was shit on that, wasn't he?
I that side. I train together. I love that. That's what training's about. But comp kit, the world's kit is in a warehouse in Scotland. It's locked up.
I totally get it. So last but not least, well, fucking stones. There's only one. Well, it's only ever happened pretty much once where something went wrong, but I've got Tom down for the win on that.
It's a heavier set of stones this year.
Yeah, 200 set.
200 to finish.
Yeah.
So is it starting at 100?
No, I think it starts
120, I think.
So it's all right. So 120, 140, 160, 180, 200.
Yeah, so it's the same jumps, just shifted up 20 kilos.
Perfect. I think that's better.
It's a better stone run, definitely.
Yeah, I think a little bit. I think the 180s were starting to turn into like speed runs for them guys. Like at this level, a 180 stone's nothing really, is it? Not now. Maybe years.
I think we'll also see less of a chance of like what happened in Glasgow last year.
For sure.
With, you getting that last stone at the end of the competition becomes a little more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just sprint through the whole set as quick as possible. I'm sure Tom can, but
I was going to put my hand up there.
I think it'll slow some people down.
Yeah, it's a weird one with Tom because Glasgow got in his head a little bit. Like he made a mistake on stones. His Brits run wasn't perfect, and then when I was up there last week, he one motion 200 for a load of reps and is happy with stones again. Yeah. So
I've seen him one motion a 200 kilo, 24-inch stone at mine with about a little spoonful of tacky on his hand, and it was dusty outside.
So who comes second on stones? Who's going to be fighting for that?
Andy,
podium?
probably.
Oh God, have we agree?
Yeah, Andy's a phenomenal stone lifter.
I've got Tom, Andy, Luke.
Yeah, I'd say that's good. Luke's stones are going through the roof. I never want to blame equipment because it feels a bit toss.
He's Karen.
But we made some mistakes with tacky for Worlds. We learned some stuff from Worlds that
Remember telling me that
it's less of an issue now. So it's
stones
stones he can do.
He's sweating.
He's at the risk of exciting. He's so hot as a person. Like,
you hear that there from Dan?
we need to screen grab this later on.
Luke Stoltman is so hot.
You're not allowed to stay around his house ever again now you've said that. Kush is going to be watching this.
He's just hot and like we couldn't keep tacky on him. Like we tried every blend, like tried everything we could think of. Tried the like Africa blend, Dave Osland's Worlds blend, just melting off him. So
would you look at wearing sleeves?
Luckily he's not a fan, and neither am I really, because I think it adds something that can go wrong.
An extra slide. I always say that about sleeves, but that's just my opinion on it. I always look at it this way, right? And it's a very weird way of looking at it. I always go, Tom and Donna don't wear sleeves, and they're the two best stone lifters in the world, so I don't want to wear them either. But I need to shave my arms.
Yeah, I just think I've seen
Brian Shaw wore them, Thor wore them, Eddie wore them.
Go on, Loz.
This is what I'm trying to point out is these guys didn't leave any stone unturned in terms of prep.
Pun.
And
nice pun. Good
well done,
you look at what sort of Eddie and Brian do. They put stuff on their arms to dry the sweat. Yeah. Then they'll use like a sticky spray like a carpet spray to put on their arms. Then you put the wraps on top of that. You get the tape on there. Those sleeves aren't going anywhere when you get everything right. And in those hot, sweaty conditions, with the sleeves on, you get the same performance all the time. Whereas if you go with the bare skin, it varies so much depending on temperature of your skin, temperature of the conditions that you're competing in. And someone like Tom is Luke is a great stone lifter.
Yeah, it just has to be good for him.
He just needs he wants those good conditions, so he's got that confidence. I think it would be worth him trying it. We might be getting a bit close now, but maybe talking to guys like Eddie who really knew how to get that sweat off his arms, what kind of products to put on there, and then make sure those sleeves don't move at all.
We've tried them in training, but then the weird, because we only had a cold blend of tacky, or no, we had a hot blend of tacky. It then wasn't getting hot enough because it was on the sleeves.
You had a hot blend of tacky in Scotland?
Yeah, it's honestly, try and talk to Tom about tacky because
Tom, it doesn't matter. Tom could use no tacky and still
still beat everyone.
But we tried them and they slipped. But trying like the tacky spray and stuff under it, because like Brits is fine. Arena shows aren't really a concern. It's just
those hot conditions.
Yeah, we've got a schedule for when we put like liquid chalk on, when we dry his arm, when we do this, when the tacky goes on. In an arena show, we've got it all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I remember last time we had 3 different tubs. You were walking around with it underneath your armpit and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, but for Worlds, I think, because we've got some like wide receiver glove spray stuff, you know, from American football.
Oh, when they catch the balls?
Yes, so it makes it stick. So maybe that under the sleeve. Like, that's I'm more than, if we can find a way that the sleeves moving is never a concern.
Carpet spray is really good.
Yeah.
You kind of, I mean, for someone like me with ridiculously hairy arms, it's not such fun, but the boys are kind of a bit smoother than me. They'll be all right.
Yeah. No, we'll try it. Like, that's the thing. I'm never.
The Persian in your lads. The Persian blood, just hairy men.
I just talk about strongmen now, so it doesn't matter. I can be as hairy as I like.
Yeah, try this. It's all right. It doesn't hurt when you pull the duct tape off your arm. But I was informed by you a bit well. I mean, Terry said he used to do it where he used to wear Dave Osland tacky or whatever, and then he'd always have a grade 1 tacky on the other side of his forearm. Do you know when it starts getting later on in the stones because it applies faster?
Yeah, there's so much that.
So things like that. Everyone's got their own little niche, haven't they? I suppose, and that's the most.
Yeah.
This is the thing. What people don't understand about the sport. Sometimes the higher you get yourself the food chain, the more these little 1% make a massive difference.
It's really funny as well, because the conditions that you lift in on Atlas stones actually make a huge difference, and people watching don't appreciate that. Like, I could lift a 200-kilo stone in my gym. You could lift a 200-kilo stone in your gym, but it's not necessarily the same.
No.
And until you're all in the same competition, that's when it counts.
100%. Yeah, it's like you can be too hot to deadlift and you just drink more, and you'll be sad, but you could do it.
Yeah.
But if it's too hot and you've not got the right preparation for stones, it's almost worse than having no tacky. It's because you're just putting slippy stuff on your arms, rather than something that helps.
Or you could do ultimates where you leave the stones outside when it's pissing down and then just roll them out.
Yeah, no, that's fine, because
before we move on to the Arnolds, I want a top 5 from both of you for the Brits.
Dan, you go first.
Tom, is this in order?
You can just give me a top 5. Doesn't have to be.
I'll say Tom at the top, then Luke and Bish. They can argue between themselves. Then Parr, and then it's a tricky one. I think if Gav performs well, he could sneak into 5th. I think if Andy performs well, he could 5th is that one that if everything goes to plan, I think Andy. But if he loses too many points on the pressing, I think Gav will get 5th probably.
It's an interesting one between those two, because I think Andy has more strengths, but Gav has less weaknesses.
That's such a weird way to put it, but you're so right.
Yeah. Andy's weaknesses are major, whereas Gav's weaknesses are he could just do with being a bit stronger, a bit better conditioned. Whereas Andy needs, the progress you're making on his press. Whilst the progress is massive, it's still a big weakness in terms of where the sport's at.
And like I said, I spoke to lots of you about it. You know what it's like when you've got something which is a weakness because it's not been built on a gym foundation in general.
Yeah,
it's gonna be. It takes time to just get it up there. You can't go from 140 log to 180.
Yeah, you can't force it. It's going to take time. As long as he keeps working on getting better, trying to hit PBs, that's all he can do.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember if was it 2019 or whatever? Was Bishop was only getting 1 rep on the log at Britain's?
Yeah,
things like that. Luke not even being able to rep the log at his first Britain's. Things like that. All these top guys have been through the ringer of this sort of process, and we sometimes forget it because they're so good. But it's good. Right, top 5. Oh, right, okay then. I'm going King Tom as the first. I can't deny that. Looking at the events, it'd just be wrong of me. And then my other 4 in no particular order. There's going to be Luke and Bishop are going to be in there. And then I've got Parr in there and Gavin Andy fighting for the last spot. But I think the dark horse of the competition, all being well, with all respect to him, 110% has to be Shane. I think he's going to be a dark horse coming into this year. That's just my personal opinion. I think he can upset a few people. I think he's a brilliant athlete and he's got a bright future ahead of him. But I just think at this moment in time, the guys we've named there are just that little bit more experienced. I think the Shield and the sandbags are what are going to separate the points. Mostly the Shield. Those are the events where you're going to go, wow, he's lost first here. Oh, God, he might mess the podium up. I think the Shield and the sandbags are going to be the ones where we see which decide the full show.
Yeah, I'd agree. What's your call, Oz? Who are you saying?
I cannot see past Tom, like, for the win. I mean, he's just that good. And these, like you said at the start, I think he could not have asked for a better set of events.
Yeah.
I think Tom can come into this at 80% and still win.
I'd like to have an easy stone run, like, rather than...
I mean, we're going to move on to the Arnolds now, and I think this is the issue. I think Luke has to go to the limit at Britain's if he wants to have a chance.
Yeah.
I don't think Tom
So close.
And I think Tom can recover in time to go to the Arnolds and still be fresh. I'm not convinced that Luke can if he's going to push it at the British.
Are you going to the Arnolds?
Sorry?
Are you going to the Arnolds?
Yes.
Ooh.
I'm doing the commentating for Rogue.
Me and Dale have got a little house with a popcorn maker.
They come round for a party, which means like cans of Red Bull and Doritos.
Sounds good. Sounds good. But I'm extremely excited about. I mean, I'm moving away from the rest of the four there.
Yeah, you've done well there.
Yeah, Loz, behave. Come on, Loz. We need you over four.
Your top five is Tom, and then something else.
I think you've always got to look at Luke and Bish as.
Yeah. I agree.
You know, challenging for that podium. I do agree with you. I think someone like Andy could do really well. Someone like Parr. I'm looking forward to seeing Gav back. You know, obviously with what happened last year, been following his training. He looks in a good place. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. And, you know, all the younger guys as well. Like you say, Des, Shane. I think, you know, we've got some bright future stars in the UK right now. I think Paul could perform well.
Yeah, I really hope he does as well.
I think it's gonna be a good show. I do, and I'm still hoping Brits sell out one or two extra.
Me too.
To go in.
Yeah,
we've got some good talent in the UK, and I think, although I don't think anyone's going to jump in and challenge for you know, a world's strongest man spot, I think it'd be good for them to get that opportunity and learn from competing against some of these great guys.
Yeah, 100%. And I think with what you said, like, Tom can almost cruise Brits, and if it goes well, he could win. I think the plan, looking at the event,
just a bit off subject, but not.
We lost you, Dale. Say that again.
You've frozen there, mate.
Oh, are you back? He's got a very serious look on his face there, hasn't he?
Very concerned looking.
Hopefully he comes back in.
I think a little.
Oh, he's back.
Oh,
can you hear us?
We've got the deadlift championships. We'll only speak for it for a minute. Do you reckon we could get more? Do you reckon we could get 10 people pulling £1,000 in one shot?
No, but unless they invite a very specific 10 people. But I think
should just to make it happen, because last time was incredible and I want to see it again.
I think if they focused on just inviting the best deadlifters and not worrying about the overall competition, then potentially we could.
Yeah.
Should we go on a petition to get £10,000 deadlifts pulled in half an hour?
Well, what did we have? We had 7 last time. It could definitely happen.
It's nuts, isn't it?
You know,
crazy.
It could definitely happen. But we will talk about deadlifting another time. I want to move on to the Arnolds, because the Arnolds is back. I think it's exciting. The Stoltmans are there.
This
for the
one's been so hard. So hard.
Liss is competing, Kilishkovsky competing, Novikov, you know, JF Karan, Kearney, Trey Mitchell looking ridiculously strong. I'm excited for this one, and I'm sure you guys are too.
I have never been this excited for a comp.
looking at the guys here, and I've been looking at the events, and there's so many different outcomes of these events where you can sort of picture it in your mind, and it really annoys you when you're looking at it going, why have I put JF fifth on that event? Like, what have I done that for? And I feel guilty for doing it on some things, and it's got nothing to do with them not being incredible. I just look at the other guys above them and go, but they're really better than him. Yeah, but they're not.
It's an incredible lineup. So
it's the world's final, basically.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. Like,
Dan, while we've got you on there, sorry to interrupt you, Dale. I need to ask, do you know what the rules are going to be for the squat?
Yes.
So what are we looking at? Because that
trying to give stuff away.
2 meter wraps.
Just 2 meters.
Yep, which is going to knacker everyone who.
No way.
These are guys with the biggest legs in the world, and you're giving them 2 meter
it's
wraps.
a bad idea, but
why?
Oh, because they're half in line with IPF rules.
This is what I expected. I expected it to go down more of an IPF route.
Single ply squat suit only. You're not allowed to double up on knee support, so no sleeves and wraps.
People only do that, so it doesn't pinch the skin half the time.
I know they're weird. I see it all the time, and they make all these excuses why they do it. They do it because putting wraps on hurts.
Yeah,
yes, it does.
Unpleasant.
It really does. I put them over my joggers.
The last thing is, it may be to boxes, but we don't know.
I think that's a better idea for depth, if I'm absolutely honest.
At least if there's a box, people can't argue. They either touch it or they don't.
Yeah, and it's to parallel.
Slightly.
Yeah, so it's to parallel, not below parallel.
Okay.
And the box will be adjusted. If it's so
they're going to get measured up day before.
Yeah. So if it is boxes, then they'll be adjusted. They'll be measured up. They have to wear their lifters. Everything has to be how they're going to squat on the day. However, it may not be boxes. So that's the thing that's in the air.
That's annoying because training that's so difficult. If it's the boxes or if it's just a general free weight squat, it's really different to train the approach to it. Because the descent on the way down, if you're going to boxes, has to be a lot more controlled.
Yeah, and the 2 meter wraps is a big one.
I'm really surprised at that.
Yeah, same.
I thought it would be at least 2.5.
Because originally everyone thought it was up to 3 meters. And then I told the lads to use 2.5 to be safe, because I thought there's no way you'd go below 2.5 when, for someone like Luke, that's once around his legs, probably a meter. And then
mate, you are right.
You are shot.
Luke will get them round 4 times.
What's that, about 3 rotations, mate?
5 if he's lucky.
Max.
Because obviously you put a video up the other day about them wrapping their knees, but tomorrow's video is a squat session where I went up to wrap their knees. So all the comments are like, you guys need to get Loz up. Why isn't your coach wrapping your knees? And it's like, because the internet time is not the same as real world.
Yeah.
But it was, so how I wrap knees is obviously start 1 wrap, 4 wraps up, then cross the knee, and then lock it off at the top.
Yeah.
With a 2.5 meter wrap, that's perfect.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was going to say with a 2 meter wrap, very difficult to do.
So I'm either going to get a set of 2 meter wraps here so I can figure out what we're going to do, or I'll go up to Scotland again and we'll wrap with the 2 meter wraps.
You're going to be out in America. You're going to wrap them there.
Yes.
That's huge. Having someone do
that.
Liz was saying, "Oh, you could wrap the stomachs." When I wrap someone, it takes a ton of energy out of me. I'm a sweaty mess when I'm wrapping someone.
It's really hard to do. If anyone asks me to do it, I just automatically want to walk out the room.
So their squat session was that we put wraps on at 220, and obviously they squat, Luke squat, Tom squat, Luke squat, like back to back.
Yeah.
You're
doing all the wrapping.
I could not open my hands at the end of the day. I was like, I don't know how to move.
Dan, when you're wrapping them at the end and you're locking up, are you using anything to lock the wraps into place, or using your fingers?
Shoelace.
Yeah, I was going to say, just get a loop and pull it through.
Yeah.
Are you preloading wraps as well?
So I was with just body tension, and I'm going to take a roller out to the Arnold,
Yeah,
so I don't have to.
Maybe ask them, see if you can get like 3 pairs of the same, possibly, so they're already nice and tight and loaded.
The comment I made the other day, and I stand by it, if you train in wraps, you can get so much more out of them than you think.
Unbelievable.
Just putting them on once is horrible. They feel disgusting. They'll bruise your legs. They feel uncomfortable. But the more you get used to being in them, and the more you train in them, you can actually get more and more out of the wraps.
Oh, like
I know people that can get 50 kilos.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see that with 2-meter wraps.
No.
But if they can get 20 kilos out of them, that is an extra 20 kilos on their overall result, which is going to be huge against the best guys in the world.
And a single ply suit to add into it. So
Absolutely.
So the thing with because like wraps, again, what people don't realize is there's so much you can do with wraps. So luckily, Luke's got a chili tattooed on his quad now. And if we cut that in half with the last wrap, that's perfect between rebound and like stopping power with the wrap. Whereas Tom doesn't like the cross over his knee. He'd rather have the extra 2 wraps in the knee joint because he's quite a bouncy squatter.
I don't like the crossover at all.
But that was, a big learning curve to like, this is how I wrap knees. This is how I learned to wrap knees. It's how Milanichev wraps. Like, it's a good way to wrap. Tom didn't get on with it. So in the video, I don't know how they've edited it, but basically said, like, Tom, you wrap your knees for a set. I'll watch exactly what you want to do. And then I'll just do the same, but tighter and a bit more consistent. And he just wants that material behind the knee. He wants a pop, whereas Luke wants, the stability. And he's 10 years older. We don't want to be bouncing his knee joint about. We want to keep Luke solid and use his strength. Whereas Tom wants that bit of bounce. And
What do you reckon the boys are capable of lifting?
400 and 420.
Which way round?
Luke 420.
Cool.
He's a phenomenal squatter.
What numbers do you reckon are potentially doable by some of the other guys?
I'm on this.
JF probably 430, 420, 430. The issue with a max squat in a strongman comp is it's not been done for a while, so it's really hard to tell what people can do.
It's video footage as well. Like, how many of us have seen these guys actually like max squat?
Yeah,
few and far between, isn't it?
I found JF squatting 420 11 years ago.
Was that in the powerlifting meet?
Yeah. But that sort of means nothing because his hamstrings have gone since then. Like, he's been injured since then. He's also got stronger since then. So you don't know. Also, I can't see anyone going for a full max. Look at the Rogue Invitational, the deadlift there. Tom pulled 415 or 413, whatever it was. We could have gone heavier, but what's the point? Like, he wasn't going to beat JF on the day.
Oh, absolutely.
So why ruin yourself for the sake of
you need to
second?
It's select your own numbers, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a rising bar, 3 attempts, no minimum opener either. So they're not.
This is always a really interesting factor, and I think because we've not seen the squat in a competition before, it could be very interesting.
And it's numbers are in within 2 minutes of your attempt, so it's not. My background as a coach was in Olympic weightlifting, where I had someone win a British Masters Championship without having to do their last lift. Because I saw who they were competing against was nervous and put a different lift in, ruined their prep time. My athlete didn't have to lift.
So I take it you're going to be picking the numbers for the boys?
Yeah, we're going to. So at the moment, we're locking in their warm-ups. We're seeing what they're hitting for like a nice double or a triple. And then whatever they're doubling before we go out to the Arnold will be their opener. And then we'll see, what they're capable of and what they need. Like, if 400 puts him in 6th, but 405 could put him in 3rd, then we'll go for 405.
Sure.
But I think second attempts are the biggest thing in these maxes because ideally, their second attempt should secure a decent place. And then, if someone goes for 440 and they've jumped from 380, hitting 400, you've beaten them without having to lift more. So
Absolutely.
I hate maxes. So
yeah, it's so hit and miss, isn't it?
When
Sometimes, like you say, you can sometimes get a bit overzealous with it. I'll be honest with you, on the squat, I'm looking when I was looking at the people doing a little bit of research and stuff. I think JF is the guy for me to beat on that.
yeah,
Personally, if we were just to look at it now,
yeah,
the way training's going and what he's done in the past. But I also think Trey Mitchell could throw something big out there. You know, he is my honest dark horse from that squad. I don't see much of Trey
agree
Mitchell,
there.
but he is a strong boy.
I'm not going to say concern because I don't coach him, so the more concerns the better from my point of view. But the concern, if I was coaching Trey, is I think he gets carried away. And I think he's one of the people who could take a relatively safe second attempt and then go, I'm going to go for a 20 kilo PB and maybe have to rely on his stuff. That's why this is like the best worst job.
Why don't you go up to him and down and go, hey, you've got 1,000 pounds in you after that?
I reckon you should go 450, mate. See what happens.
Would that happen? You wouldn't do something like that, would you?
He would.
What?
Yes, he would. 110%. So, yeah, you would. Don't lie.
Yeah, no, that's.
I think the mind games that goes on with these type of events where you get to select the numbers is a very, very important factor of a max event like this. And I think it's going to be great. Squat instead of deadlift. It's good to see a variation.
Love it. I hope Mateusz is back as well. Like, he looks good. Obviously, he had the injury, then the issues with the rehab, then another injury, then so on. But he's a weirdly good squatter for someone with relatively skinny legs. Like, no.
Hey, skinny legs mean nothing. Stop being so nasty.
But he could. I think the second attempt is going to be the thing that determines second down, basically, and that's a weird situation to be in.
So, because me and Loz are on the fence kind of guys at the Arnold, because obviously you've got a bigger sort of job to do at the Arnold and like things like that. But looking at the max squat event, I'll be honest with you, I've personally said JF, Luke, and Trey are going to be the top three.
I think Martins could be in the mix, but
and then I've got just in little brackets underneath that, Lissis and Tom. I wonder where they're going to be hitting. But we've not seen the likes of Markov or anything. I don't know what he's capable of the squat. I've only seen him squat 300 kilo for a few reps.
Yeah. So he looked good with that, but it's hard to tell what that will.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. And it's like, Novikov's not very known as like the best squatter.
He's working hard, though. Like, Novikov.
This is Novikov. Novikov can literally turn up.
Last time we saw Novikov squat, he got 10 reps in his group of World's Strongest Man, which wasn't bad at all.
Yeah.
With Novikov, he brings his best.
Oh, always. And then you've got Maxime, like you say, one of the lighter guys, and Rob Kearney. But I've never seen much of them like doing like pushing like the high 300 sort of spots, so I can't really have an opinion on that.
I think Bedro's a really good squatter from what I've heard, and knowing a few people who know him.
He's an animal, just in general, though. He's that guy who will drop down on the floor until he's...
Who's that, sorry?
Yeah, Maxime.
Yeah.
Maxime, looking at his past record, has not done that well on a squat. If we go on competition performances, he's not a bad squatter, but he's not like a JF or a Martins who's constantly winning squat events. He's been sort of 6th, 7th. He was 6th or 7th at the Canadian Championships in the squat.
Yeah.
So on that squat, guys, right? Do you know you get to pick your numbers? There's not going to be none of this. He's done 400, I'm doing 4.2, or is there like a minimum jump?
You can do that. You can do that. You can do 1 kilo more.
So annoying, that kind of stuff. It's so frustrating.
That's where my job
brings that
comes in,
psychological mind game into it.
So frustrating.
Because
I bet someone like yourself there would just like a rising bar. Everyone does every lift.
Oh, I'd rather just be like, come on then. Oh, is that what we've got to do next? I'll skip that one. I'll do the next one. No problem.
Yeah, proper
because I'd be the
powerlifting
person
rules.
who gets carried away and going, I'm going to blast all you out by 40 kilos, even if I fail.
The other thing that's not being made clear in the rules is if you can adjust weights. So if we say put Luke in a 430 squat and then so many lifters before, can we drop him down to 420? Can we do this? Like, So I think whatever you put in
That's
is
it.
what you're going to squat, rather than having
normally you can't drop the weight once it's.
Well, you can do like with powerlifting. I could put Luke in with like a 430 squat, and then so long as the bar's not above 420.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think we're allowed to go that tactical on it.
I was going to say we could have seen some split points on the squat, but if that's the case, then maybe not.
I
don't know what's going to happen, guys. I'm really confused on that event.
First, second, third are going to be like JF, Luke, Martins, like Trey. Like there's a mix around there, but I think below that, it's second attempts are going to be the thing that I think people are going to chase a position that they don't belong in, like being fair to them, and they're going to have to fall back to whatever they squatted for their second.
I think someone like Kiliashkovsky has to be tactical on this. I think he needs to take your advice, focus on getting that good second lift, and even making sure his third lift beats some other guy's second lift that try and do too much.
100, totally agree. That's essentially my tactic with Tom, but just aiming, towards the top end of the table. But if everyone hits their third lift, you might be fourth. But assuming people are going to fail, you could end up second. You could end up winning the event by mistake, like with good tactics. Yeah. Martins, I'll stand by what I said in the podcast with the Stoltmans. I think he's too varied in his training.
I tell you, the points need to be up.
But I think Martins is doing he's squatting narrow one week, then he's squatting low bar the next week. He's got wraps on. He's doing brutal bodybuilder shoulder workouts with Juji Mufu. It doesn't feel like Martins was ruthlessly consistent before he won Worlds, and it just feels like he's not doing that at the moment. As a fan, I hope he proves me wrong because I love Martins, but as a coach, I hope I'm right.
So we all pretty much in agreement. I think JF is going to be the guy to beat on the squat.
I think so. JF's JF, isn't he?
Yeah, it's my favorite squat.
For me, on anything like that in an event in strongman, if you put a squat on two healthy men and it was Graham Hicks and JF Caron, that would be mental.
I would love to see it.
Oh God! Imagine a healthy Hicks at that Arnold's max squat and a max dumbbell, like a healthy Graham Hicks.
Max log. Be max log.
Oh God, crazy. Right. So talking about max log, for me, looking at all the guys there's only one winner for me personally.
I hope you're going to say who I think you're going to say.
For me personally,
that will do.
I just think for consistency on a log press, repetitions and max, you're not going to see Luke get beaten very often.
No. It's amazing, isn't it? Because we just spoke about Britons and you picked Tom to beat Luke on the axle, but it shows that they are different events. Like when it comes to log, Luke has proved, especially over the last year, exceptionally consistent. Backs his numbers up all the time. I mean, I just saw him making 190 look like a toy.
Yeah, it's disgusting, isn't it?
And that was his third double, the one he posted. So
that was impressive.
And for me, there's only one winner on that. Is that the same, Dan, where you pick your three?
So the log is
160.
You get 3 attempts, and you can nominate to skip lifts.
Is there an opener?
Yes, it's either 160 or 170.
Yeah, I thought.
And then it's 10 kilo jumps up to 190.
Yeah,
and then 5 kilo jumps above that. So that's going to be.
There's no little increments then.
No. So I think like 205 is going to get way more points than a load of people on 200. This is where it gets a bit. I'd like Tom to hit 205, 210, and I think that could secure him top 3, top 4 in that event. And I'd like Luke to do the absolute minimum to win.
Yeah, I think Luke's on a good one with that, and I think not a dark horse, but I think the guy who could do very well in that event is Maxime again.
Yeah, really good, great
very
log
good
presser.
Log presser. Very good.
Rob Kern is really good as well, but obviously after injury,
Trey's log pressing is good as well.
There's no bad presses there. really.
I just wonder how Rob and Kiliskovsky's triceps are. That's my only thing with pure max weight, because otherwise, Rob Kearney for me would be right up there. Of course he would, you know. But
it's just being sensible as well.
Yeah, you just don't know what, because they still need to hold something back for the dumbbell as well, guys. You've got to remember this. Then we've got 125 dumbbell.
Yeah, 125, 126. Around there.
Come on, man. Come on.
All right, let's talk about the dumbbell then, because that is going to be an exciting one.
There's only one winner in that, guys, and I'm sorry, it's Novikov, like, hands down all day, every day.
Yeah, good. Like,
guys,
if Novikov turns up how he can turn up, he's unbelievable at dumbbell. Mateusz was really good at dumbbell, but seems to have suffered, I think, more psychologically with his tricep than physically at this stage.
Yeah, of course.
What about Yevgeny? He's looked impressive in training on the dumbbell.
I'm not allowed to comment on him because people on the internet will shout at me.
What have you been doing? What have you been saying to people?
All I said last year when he put, I think it's like 145 for 3 reps up, I replied to someone asked me a question about it, and I replied and I said it's super impressive if it weighs what it weighs.
Well, this is why I like when you see me and Liz kind of talk about competitions. We look at competition results.
Yeah, and he's never won a dumbbell event.
Where I start to look for my results from people, because I know what the internet is like. I know what a gym lift is great.
Yeah,
but until you back it up in competition, I can't take it that seriously.
Mm-hmm. Just chuck it on a scale, though, at least.
But even then, different equipment is it varies. When you see someone come to a competition like Novikov has, we've just got that backed up performance on a dumbbell. Time and time again. Luke on a log.
Good.
Well, look at the raw.
At Europe's. Well, let's look at Europe's. He won the log there with a much lighter weight because of issues that are happening. But he still won against all those good guys.
Yeah.
When someone keeps winning, when everyone is in the same competition, regardless of the weight, that's when you start thinking that guy's really good.
Yeah.
You took JF Caron on the deadlift at the Rogue Invitational. Everyone's deadlift was down, but JF still won. And we know, in a different comp, JF might have had to win with 470. But
he'd have won it.
He backs it up.
The best athlete will win, regardless of, like you say, if they have to win by 10 kilos or 50 kilos, they're still gonna win. If Jenny's I spoke to him afterwards, and I'm still slowly learning Russian, so tried to speak to him in Russian, and I explained I would, if that number is legit, I would love to see it in competition, go and break a record, win at the I love strongman. I want to see.
Time we get to see if he is going to back it up, and that's
Well, obviously, I've met him in the flesh and competed against him and stuff, and he's a bit of a mountain. He's basically he's just a big grizzly bear. It's the best way to describe him. His hands are absolutely massive. He's a strong guy, and do you know something? I was there. I competed at the Arnolds when he won that as well. So. He has won the Arnolds amateur, the heavyweight, which some of the greatest strongmen in the world have.
Oh God, I'm not
Lissis, Novikov, all these guys, So he is worthy of being there.
Yeah, I think this is where people. How do you phrase this without getting shouted at by people on the internet? People who are on the fringe of the sport, who make content through controversy rather than actually caring about the sport, like to take the extremes of what people say.
Okay.
I have at no point doubted if Jenny is an athlete. I think he's an incredible athlete. I said I don't think his dumbbell might not have weighed what he said it weighed. In the same way, I said that about Novikov before he weighed it, and I'd say that about anyone who claimed to break the world record for reps. At no point would I ever question him as an athlete. I think he's amazing. And stone to shoulder, I'm genuinely excited to see what he can do with that, because
I'm torn on that event. I don't have a clue what's going to happen, because obviously me and Dan spoke about this yesterday, and I was having a joke with him. I said, what does Kiliskovsky do? Just pop down the river with a stolen shopping trolley from Aldi and just pick a few rocks out the river and take it home. I said, who just has a random 190 kilo natural stone sat in the garage? How do you get it? Do you just go and say, Laws, Dan, what you're doing today? Do you fancy just go on the seaside and try to pick up a rock?
That's what the lads did with theirs. Just went to the beach.
Like, it stresses me out.
Kiliashkovsky is damn impressive on that event.
Yeah, the rules are the same as they were previously as well. So you get a point for lapping it, 2 points to the chest, 4 points to the shoulder. And any rep to the shoulder beats any number of points from, if you do 10
kind
laps.
of like what they do with the log, where is it lighter, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it makes
if
sense.
you do 10 laps.
How does Tom look at that type of event then? Because we know how good he is at stone lifting, but natural stones, people kind of, obviously said Lissis was better at the Rogue Invitational. This is different again. It's shouldering a stone.
He's good. So we've got 170 kilos. Well, we've got 150 kilo sandbag packed out to 170, and he's chucking that up for reps at the end of an event session. It's a good event for him. It's a good event for Luke as well. Luke's proportions are quite good. That if he gets it stood up, it's almost on his shoulder already because it's quite a long thing.
I guess that's the disadvantage of Tom. He's got such a long way to go with each rep.
Yeah, they exploded a 100 kilo Atlas stone by dropping it off his shoulder.
He broke it.
Yeah, just dropped a 100 kilo Atlas stone off his shoulder and it exploded into a lot of pieces.
Fantastic. Do you know what the thing is? I think a theme at the moment, it seems like a lot of the guys who are training for this are using sandbags. I think it was Jeff do it, Bobby Thompson, who's obviously the reserve, Tom, Luke. A lot of the guys seem to be using the sandbag to shoulder.
The tombstone is basically a sandbag shape. Like Oddhaugen's tombstone, which is the one they're using, it's a slightly pointier sandbag, basically, but it's really long. It's awkward to get hold of. There's no corners either. So you see some lads training on natural stones that have got like incuts on them, and they're using it as a handle, whereas the tombstone is smooth. Like, it's not a friendly stone to shoulder.
Yeah. I think it's going to be an interesting one. I do feel Kiliashkovsky's going to be hard to beat on this event.
I think
even off past experience, he's just phenomenal, isn't he?
He's used it before. He's performed exceptionally well. I think Lissis could perform very well on it. I think the thing with Lissis, we'll probably keep quiet about him, but he'll just be one of those guys again, like at the Rogue. He'll consistently be scoring points.
Yeah,
and Lissis, people do sort of like. People don't really blow Lissis up that much, do they? Like, everyone kind of always has a bit of self-doubt about Lissis. I'm not saying everyone, but I mean, like, it's not like, when you get like Prime, Shaw and Eddie Hall or Zadrunas, you're like, they're definitely going to win, or Fall's definitely going to win. At this moment in time, at this Arnold, there's not one person I can put my finger on and go, they're going to win this.
I think it's going to be, in my mind, Luke is going to win the log. He'll be top 2 or 3 in the squat. He'll be up there in the stone to shoulder. He'll do all right in the dumbbell. So I feel like there's about 5 guys who could win, and there's everyone who could come last.
I got to ask you this then, Dan, because I agree. I think the events for the Arnolds are much better for Luke than even for Tom.
Yeah,
I think in the back of Luke's head, does that make him hold back at the Brits?
I don't. So we've chatted about it a bit. We've got sort of regular phone calls scheduled to figure out exactly what we're going to do. But I think maybe not going 100% at Brits is probably wise. He's 10 years older than Tom. He's 38. If he was going to beat Tom at Brits, he has to put in 100% performance. Whereas I think for him to get on the podium fairly comfortably, he doesn't need to put in that 100% work. And, his quality of his axle, his deadlift improving, I think he could get on the podium without really having to go to the limit.
I genuinely love both the Stoltmans. So, but I have to put that unbiased view across.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
And I worry for Luke that at 38 years old, if he goes and smashes his deadlift PB, does pushes himself to the limit at Brits, and then what's it? You got the Brits on the 26th of February?
Yeah.
26th.
And then what day would he travel then to the Arnold's? A couple of days
The
later.
first. So
and the competition starts on the 4th?
Yeah. So we would Britain's Strongest Man on the Saturday night as normal. Then they'd drive up to Scotland, do a bit of moving and mobility on the Monday, get on a plane Tuesday, and that's it. So it's not a big turnaround. If I could run it how I wanted to run it, which is probably less popular with the public, I'd use Luke to make sure Tom wins Brits, and I'd use Tom to help Luke at the Arnold.
Do you think it kind of helps, though, that we're at the start of the season and not midway or at the back end of the season? So I understand the points what we're saying there about being exhausted with 2 competitions in the space of 2 weeks, but maybe because of like the off season and like not as many competitions and travel.
I agree with those, but then you've got to look at everyone else is just fresh, just for the
Arnold.
Yeah. That's the difference. You're going against a fresh Kiliashkovsky, a fresh Novikov, a fresh Lissis, a fresh JF.
Yeah.
That's dangerous opposition to be even 5% off your best.
And weirdly, with the lads, they perform better later in the season because for the off season, for them, a big part of that is we try and get weight off. We try and get them moving better, get their conditioning up. So, you know, at the moment, we're pulling a little bit of conditioning out and pulling a bit of volume out so they can get weight up. Like Tom's 11 or 12 kilos down on when he won Worlds, and he's fairly lean still. So it's not like he's just lost a load of fat. He's missing some useful weight at this stage. So
he's building
we need to. I think Tom could do some really good stuff for Luke at the Arnold with how his squat looks, you know, 5 more kilos on the squat, 5 more kilos on the log, get in between the people who are going to be threatening. Because if Luke was going to win an Arnold's title, this is the time, you know, there's a max log.
If one of them won the Arnold's, that's it. You've won everything there is to win.
Yeah. I'll take Brits 1 week, Arnold's the next, win Worlds again, and then nice steady summer, innit?
You basically got Hathor Bjornsson's trophy cabinet just in one family.
Yeah, it's not doing bad. But I think that's what I'd like to do. Whether they're on board with it is a conversation we still need to really have.
Very, very hard as an athlete because you get in front of that crowd at Britain's Strongest Man. All of a sudden, the natural competitor in you comes out. You want to perform. An event like a shield carry is actually quite brutal when you push it to the limit. A deadlift for reps is actually quite brutal when you push it to the limit.
Yeah,
I think axle for Luke won't be too much of an issue. I think
it's a 150 axle. It's
I think a throw, you can do throwing every day and recover.
Absolutely.
I even think stones they can recover from fine. But there's just a couple of events in there that are a lot more demanding on the body. And then obviously the traveling and stuff like that to kind of contend with.
I'd like to see Luke hit a deadlift PB. That would be really nice, you know, sort of prove the work we've done over the off season. But even if that's one more comfortable rep, rather than, I could have got 3 more, but it would have ruined me, I'd be happy with that. With the shield, that's the most tactical event, really, is Tom has got to this line, second place is here, take 1 more step than second, help Tom win. But like you say, Luke's an elite level athlete, and it's going to be hard to convince him to do that.
Who doesn't want to win their national championships?
Exactly. And it's just, if I can get Tom to sort of go down the same route in terms of the Arnold and saying, like, we'll push really hard at Brits, you know, have that dominant performance, but then at the Arnold, let's hit a squat PB, let's hit a log PB, let's get in the way and give Luke that opportunity to win, then it's where I'm hoping the fact that they're brothers becomes useful rather than, now it's my brother, I want to beat him. I want to try and get that. The Stoltmans could win both titles, and that's massive. Or if they both push really hard, the Stoltmans could come first and second at Brits and then be ruined for the Arnold. So it's a tricky one to balance, really.
It is.
We're missing one event as well. We've missed the frame.
I was just going to say, yeah.
Tom
400 kilo frame. No
Tom or
straps.
Mateusz.
Up a ramp.
Tom or Mateusz. Tom's hitting. So we've not got a ramp to train on. So we're doing longer distance than the ramp is at Rogue. And Tom's hitting 7-second runs with 370, 380 at the moment for 12, 15 meters.
His grip's coming a lot, hasn't it?
So Tom's grip, this like one of my big pet peeves on the internet. Tom's grip has got really good. He was just bad at Hercules hold. In the same way that, you know, someone could be a really good presser, but they could be bad at log.
Yeah.
But his grip has gone through the roof. Luke's, this is where that advantage comes in, that they're training together. They're both hitting 7-8 second runs, you know, closing in on comp weight, no straps. We're doing it for multiple runs as well. So
there's no straps at the comp, isn't it, this year?
No straps, 400 kilos.
That's cool.
Quite a low pickup as well.
Yeah, but with straps.
Yeah.
I think it's better without the straps, make it a little bit lighter.
I've done the frame at the Arnold without the straps, and it's a lot better than doing it with straps. I think sometimes they try to go too heavy.
It starts dipping and sliding, and, you know, it's better to make a speed event. It's like, I think events like that, you want to see them done quick.
Yeah. I think it's quite a low pickup. Like,
it's not too bad. It's not too bad a pickup. It's not like super low, but it's not as high as maybe the
I think the Giants one's higher, isn't it? But the good thing is, like, for Tom, we want that bit of extra clearance that obviously you can't get off a fixed handle normally. But by being that little bit lower and him being so tall, it's really nice. But then on the other hand, it's a lovely height for Luke to pick up from, and he's up and moving fast with it. So Mateusz is phenomenal. I think he holds the record currently with it.
Yeah,
like 7 point.
I also think if his grip can hold out, which it's not, well, I mean, it should be good enough. Novikov will be good at it as well.
I don't want to say wrote Novikov off, but his grips at that level at the end of last year was such a relative weakness that a 400 kilo frame with no straps is heavy.
Yeah, it is heavy. Yeah,
like you say, if he can get it up and he can hold it, he can keep holding it.
Trey, isn't it? Very, very similar kind of weakness on that. The grip.
Really quick, really good at moving events. But
you've got JF Caron kicking about there who can do a dangerous job on that as well if he wants to.
Yeah, Caron it's a phenomenal Arnold lineup, really. It's
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait. I'll be honest with you, I'm going to give you the top 3. We'll go 3 on this one.
Let's go then. I'll get a top 3 from both of you.
Oh,
Dan, you're first.
Luke, JF, Martins.
Right, okay.
In an order.
Right, you've done that there. I'm going to go Martins. For God's sake, why have I got to do this? Kiliskowski and Luke.
Yeah. I think Tom could accidentally get on the podium. Like, you know, if we're trying to get him in the gaps between people.
Something in me, though, wants JF to do really, really well and win a major title.
This is where
I'd be over the moon.
I can't see JF winning, if I'm honest.
I know. I'm saying that as like a person because, you know, he's that guy who's always there.
I'd love to see JF win. And to be honest, he gets upset when I say he's going to win something. So I'd rather not and him do better than I say.
Yeah.
But I think with the events, I think the only reason why I've not put Novikov up there, even though he's a great guy, he's a phenomenal athlete, I just think with the frame and the squat, I think that's too many points lost.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's the best events for Novikov. I personally, I'd love to see Kiliashkovsky win this.
Yeah,
with everything he's gone through, I'd love to see him come back and really be at his best. I want to see that dumbbell flying like it was a few years ago.
He can win Rogue at the end of the year.
Whether he does or doesn't, we'll wait and see. I think if Luke focuses on the Arnolds, he can do really well. I'm still slightly concerned about his recovery from Britain's to the Arnolds.
Yeah, we've got a phone call scheduled for the weekend to try and because I hate having to think about tactics in strongman. Because as a fan, I want to see every athlete go 100% all the time.
You've got a job to do, mate.
We've spoken about how busy the schedule is this year. It is impossible. I mean, even when Zadrunas and Marius were winning all these titles when they were competing all the time, a lot of the time they were just good enough to go at 80% and still win.
Yeah.
The standard of the sport is so much higher now. So you really can't go 80% and win that many competitions.
Britain's standard's insane. Never mind the Arnold Classic or World's Strongest Man standard. It's outrageous. Like, you've even got like Bobby Thompson willing to step in there last minute. You know, imagine
and if he steps in, that's someone that could do well on the squat.
Imagine throwing him in there.
I think we've got a fairly open year, which is why this is so frustrating. Like, the rest of the dates pan out really nicely. Like World's Strongest Man, we can afford like a good build into Worlds. But these two comps back to back it's just a nightmare. Because I'd like, you know, as a fan, I'd love to see them, Tom and Luke, go 100% at both shows.
Even like a month apart would have been so much better.
Even 2 weeks. Even 2 weeks is better than a week.
The thing, like talking to Tom, and it's like, right, we'll do the meet and greet, and then we've got to drive home that night because they need to get in on the Monday and do some mobility work, a bit of light squat, like 100-kilo squats to just keep moving, get the hips working. And then they're on a plane for 14 hours. So
the flight to Ohio is not that bad. It's not a really bad flight, but I'm not 180 kilos and just in the competition 3 days before.
And they're in Scotland, so they have to fly from Inverness to Heathrow, from Heathrow to New York, from New York to Ohio.
Yeah.
Whereas for like us, it's Manchester, Atlanta, Ohio. Like, it's an easy flight, but
plus no comp a few days before.
I mean, people don't know how hard coaching is, but I'd rather be doing my job than theirs this time round.
Yeah, for sure.
It's hard work, and then we've got 2 matches.
You've got me with you all week to keep you chilled out.
You're also competing at the Arnold, though.
Yeah. So... I'm easy work. You just tell me what to do, and I'll just be like, no problem, let's go. And I'll be sat there.
I've tried that.
I'm glad that you're both going to be there. It's going to be cool to be out at the Arnolds with both of you.
I'm so excited. Like 5 years, 6 years, I need to go to an Arnold. I want to be at the Arnold.
Last time I was at the Arnold was 2012. It's the one and only time I got to compete there, and you know, I'm looking forward to going back. It's such
getting to see, like, the Austrian oak's gonna, like, they're using the Austrian oak, and I get to see like that piece. Like, it's such a special thing in strongman, and the frame is, you know, the frame. It's the Arnold's frame.
I only go for the Cheesecake Factory. I'm not going to lie.
I've got to lose weight to fit in race cars still, so it's diet time for Dan.
Well, guys, it's been awesome to chat to you both as always. It's going to be an amazing year. We'll have a chance to chat many, many times. We're going to get a lot of comps together. Good luck, Dan, with the lads at the comps, and obviously to you as well, Dale, with the lads doing Britain's. You're going to be competing at the Arnold yourself.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Winning the 105s.
I'm back, baby.
You're back. You feeling good?
Of course, I'm feeling good. I'm always happy and feeling good.
Good man.
I'm just ready to just let it all out now. I can't wait.
Awesome.
I feel like I need to just really get stuck in and dust some cobwebs off, because I'm starting to get the itch.
You're ready to compete.
Yeah, because I train people that much, even myself now. I sometimes forget about myself, and I can't do that.
Yeah, you got to do something for you still.
Yeah, for sure, mate. I'm nearly 30 as well, so I need to take some time.
Good stuff, guys. It's a pleasure as always chatting to you. I'll speak to you guys very, very soon. Take care.
Awesome. Cheers. Thank you, Loz.
Thanks for that, guys.
That was good, man.
Very good. Lizzie, do you
2 hours as per usual.
Yeah, it's nearly been 2 hours. 1 hour 45. I think you should get some short stuff from this.
Like, I was going to say, you thinking of splitting this into 2 videos?
What I might do is post it as a video and then do some shorter bits, because we talked about sort of individual stuff. So if people want to watch the whole thing, they can. And then if there's more interesting things that people just want to watch in terms of shorter stuff, they'll be able to do that. Because we did sort of break it down in terms of events.
Who's behind you?
Elizabeth.
Boss. Hi, Liz.
Hi, you're right.
Right, end broadcast?
End broadcast.